Hey, this is Nika Montfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and you're listening and or watching the snobOS show, the show where we talk all things Apple and then some. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of snobOS. First of all, let's start off by thanking our Patreons. You too can become a Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And with that $5 a month, you will get access to our live taping, access to our pre show, and access to our Discord chat. So, being a Patreon allows us to bring you higher quality content. You see, we have these logos. We've changed up our background a little bit to give it a little bit more professional feel. So all those things come into play when you, our listeners, support us on Patreon. And again, for as little as $5 a month, you can help us grow and expand this show. Since we are on podcasts, we're also on YouTube, so we are a audio and web show as well. So yeah,
And production ain't free.
at all. What we've learned so far with this whole process, how much goes into the back end and the production aspect of producing a show. We thought it was a lot doing just the audio, but when you factor in video, it's a whole different beast. But your support does allow us to do some of those extra things, and we are definitely very grateful for our current Patreons, and we welcome any new patrons as well. All right.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so let's hop into it. Let's start with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. So, last week, the new iPhone 12 was announced. The iPhone 12, what I call standard, the iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12 Pro, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So pre-orders started last Friday for the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. Terrence and I both ordered the iPhone 12 Pros. And the first thing we want to talk about is so far with the pre-orders as of 2 days ago, it's off to a strong start. It looks as if Apple has received twice as many pre-orders than with the previous version of the iPhone 12. So I think that bodes well for Apple's bottom line. And I think, the initial sell was the 5G, but I think the MagSafe and the cameras, I think both of those things are pretty much overshadowing, the 5G announcement. I think those two things are really, picking up more than probably Apple even anticipated. So it looks like they're saying that it looks like it have brought in between 1.7 million and 2 million pre-orders during the first 24 hours of availability. So again, it was available starting on Friday. And again, this article is from earlier this week from Monday. So we don't quite know what the final numbers are. I'm sure Apple will be releasing those because it seems like it's trending in a positive fashion. And this is for only 2 devices. We still have 2 other devices that will start pre-order on the 6th, I believe. So just for those 2 devices, it's looking pretty good for pre-orders.
Yeah, which is strange if they've had so many more orders than previous years. Maybe it's me, but this pre-order process was easier than previous years. Again, I've been doing pre-orders for, last couple of releases of iPhones. And I remember previous years having to refresh and refresh and refresh and use my iPad and use my computer, use my phone, and then try to order from Best Buy and then try to order from T-Mobile or Sprint or Verizon, all this stuff just to get a decent pre-order ship date. But last week popped up on time, ran through, checked out, didn't have any strange shipping dates. It said Your ship date is scheduled for Friday, October 22nd. It took like 2 or 3, 5 minutes. And I was
Yeah.
like, huh. Then I went online to, check Twitter, check, see what other people were saying. Everybody on my feed pretty much had the same experience. So I'm surprised to hear that now that the twice as many pre-orders for the 12 as is for the 11. I'm surprised what they did right or what happened that enabled them to have a smooth pre-order process when the pre-orders were so large. So that was kind of strange.
Yeah, and like I'm thinking now, I'm like I did the whole thing of, getting into the pre-order, and I'm like I didn't even have
Hmm.
to do that. I could have just, did it regular, but I mean, it's
Right.
done
Well,
now.
you're probably safer that you did it
Yeah.
the right way or the pre-order way
Yeah.
versus actually waiting, because maybe our stores would be different,
Yeah.
But again, the general consensus was that nobody really had any major issues this go around. So
This was the
again, maybe
smoothest
that.
pre-order I've ever had with
Uh
Apple.
huh.
It was
Right.
like when 8 o'clock hit, I was of course up already, and then
Hmm.
I had the shortcut turned on, but I was like I really didn't need it because I was already up, and I
Right.
think it didn't. I think at 8 o'clock it said, it's still, hold on, hold on. I think maybe like a couple minutes later, everything kind of popped up. I went in, I clicked it, and boom, I was like, oh, whoa, that was easy. I was
Right.
expecting, something a little bit more. So, I mean, I don't know what they did this go around for things, but they should probably
Thank
keep
you.
doing that because
Right.
it was really smooth and in a couple of minutes, in and out and done. So, kudos to
Well.
them for the smooth pre-order process.
Hmm.
So that was a positive. All right, so let's head on into the next thing. Apple launches Apple Music TV. I had not seen this. I think you'd pop this in there, Terrence, if you want to talk about it because I
Oh
had
yeah.
not
So
seen this.
basically, they're launching. Apple's launching a video channel similar to like YouTube's. Similar to YouTube. What do they call it? I lost it. I had it fast. Uh, YouTube has a. It's not Vimeo. YouTube. YouTube is like sucking up all the air when it comes to music videos, because a lot of people go on YouTube to see original, you would think rather that a lot of people go on YouTube to see creator content like ours, like our show, snobOS on YouTube, snobOS Cast. Definitely go look that up. But you
Shameless
think people
plug.
go see, right. You would think a lot of people are going to see user created content, but for the longest time since your BETs, your VH1s, your MTVs really don't do videos anymore. All that stuff is shifted to online, and you know, in our generation, I would say most of us stopped watching music videos when they stopped airing them on TV. These young kids, all they're
That's
doing is
all they
watching music
know.
videos. That's all they're doing is watching music videos on YouTube. So Apple has decided they're going to jump in that fight, and they've launched Apple Music TV, and basically it is a free, for now, curated 24-hour live stream of popular music videos. Of course, it's only available to U.S. residents for now, but you can watch it in the browse tabs of the Apple Music app and on the Apple TV app. So, they're doing sort of like instead of cramming all of the music and the you're searching for, I'm searching for a song and then the video pops up. Well, I didn't want the video. I just wanted the song. Maybe they're doing a little bit of, categorization and kind of segmenting the things into different verticals. So now when you're looking for a music video, you go to Apple Music, but you can also click this Apple Music TV tab and actually search for some popular videos. Again, I don't know if they're going to just dump their entire catalog on this Apple Music TV, or is it just going to be like specific curated videos that Apple and their editors or whomever they're curating this stuff with is actually going to put these videos out. I get the impression that according to this, and I'll read a little bit more into it, I get the impression that they're going to handpick certain videos to go out. Like, for instance, I'll just go ahead and read. The new channel will host video premieres at noon Eastern every Friday, starting with Joji's 777, never heard of it. St. John's Gorgeous, never heard of it. Again, this ain't my
It's
lane.
not my
On
jam.
right, on this Friday coming the 23rd. It'll be a home for other original content Apple Music has created over the years, like concert films and interviews. On the 22nd, the channel will play host of Bruce Springsteen in advance to his upcoming album Letter to You with a dedicated music video blocks, a live stream, and exclusive interview with Zane Lowe. Again, have no idea who these people are, with the exception
Bruce
of Bruce
Springsteen's the only
Springsteen.
one I know.
Right. I couldn't sing you. I could maybe sing you the hook to a lot of his popular songs, but the actual verses probably
Versus,
could not.
nope.
But all that to say, I don't think it's just going to be a dump of a bunch of music videos. Apple is going to try to create this curated experience. So, you have to be up on the new and upcoming, the hot, trendy stuff to probably catch that on Apple Music. But I probably won't be able to go into Apple Music and look up, any sort of Tina Marie or, Michael Jackson videos. It had to be this stuff that Apple tells you need to watch. So definitely, if you're interested in that, look every noon on Friday for those new videos. And like I said, if that's something you want to check out, definitely check it out because it is free.
Definitely. Cool. All right. So moving on, we have a couple of things from last week that we wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about on the show this week. So one of those things was related to Apple reducing their packaging for the iPhone 12s. So I think we talked about it when we went through the breakdown of the announcement. Apple will not be shipping the traditional AirPods. No, not AirPods, EarPods.
Right.
With the wired
cable
version.
Yeah, right.
Or the power brick, which is the adapter that you plug into the wall. You'll get the cable and you'll get the phone, but you won't get those two accessory items. So what has happened is the price on both those items has dropped. So you can now get the EarPods with a lightning connector. It used to be $29. It is now $19. So you save about $10. And for the power adapter,
same thing.
That is the same price. So although, it may not be shipped with the device, you can go and pick it up for pretty cheap. You get a discount. But like we talked about last week, many of us already have tons of these things kind of laying around.
Right. And there's a little bit of a misconception, right? Like you mentioned with the new MagSafe, none of that MagSafe stuff comes in the box. So, Apple at their iPhone 12 event said, oh, MagSafe, you can snap and wirelessly charge by connecting your iPhone automatically, magnetically to the back of a charger. You can put cases on it. You can put these cute little wallets. You can dock it. None of that stuff comes in the box. So I think there may be a little bit of a misconception thinking, okay, well, I've got this iPhone 12 out of the box. I will automatically have the ability to use MagSafe. No. I'll automatically have fast charging. No. Right. So in order to utilize the MagSafe, you're going to have to buy the MagSafe charger cable, which is $39. And you're going to have to buy the USB-C 20-watt power adapter to get the fast charging. So, it's just be prepared that some of the, like you mentioned at the top of this, story, MagSafe may be the seller for the iPhone 12 versus 5G, right? But in order to get the MagSafe features like the little snap charging and the fast charging, you have to buy some extra stuff.
If you don't have it already. Now, we mentioned, like, if you have an iPad Pro, you do now have that 20-watt adapter, so it'll be able to charge your phone faster, but you'll still have to buy the MagSafe charger or, some of the other third-party accessory makers like Belkin is making some things, so on and so forth. You still got to pay to get that functionality, which they kind of touted with the iPhone 12, but it's not really it's compatible with the iPhone 12, but it ain't with the iPhone 12. So be ready. And so when you do go to check out, after I made my purchase, like, oh, by the way, you may want to get these things, and then it put the wallet in there, and it put the Duo charger in there. So it's like, hey, you forgot about these things that may make your experience a little bit better. So you may have to, if you don't have a USB-C adapter already. And if you don't have any of the, how did you pronounce it last week? Chai, the
Chi. Yeah.
the charging discs. I
Right.
think we both talk about, we have like some laying around.
Yeah, those
So
still work, but again, they don't do that fast
they
charging.
don't do
The
the
only
fast
way
charge. You won't get the snap.
Right. But you still can use it. And surprisingly, even though they have a Lightning to USB-C cable in the box, the iPhone 12 is still Lightning port. So you can still use your regular cables and just plug it in and charge like you normally would. You just don't get the fast charging. It'll probably charge, maybe even charge even slower. But that doesn't. So all that to say, you don't have to buy anything in order to use the iPhone 12. But if you want to use all the features of the iPhone 12, you got to buy some stuff.
Yeah. It's not super expensive, but it is extra stuff. So if you're expecting to get your device on Friday, you may want to go ahead and pre-order some stuff just so that you'll have all of your items nice and neat once you get your phone on Friday, if you have a Friday ship date. If you have a later ship date, you got some time to get your other items ordered and in place so that you can use all the features of the new iPhone 12. All right. So the next thing we have on tap. So there was a release of iOS 14.1 that was launched and then abruptly pulled.
Right.
And so that's something I don't remember in recent times,
Right.
Anything happening like that where they released an iOS and then, snatched it back fairly quickly. So based on the article that we're looking at from Mac Rumors, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to say specifically why they pulled the version, but they did.
According to what I've heard, they said they accidentally released it to the public when they meant to release it to the final, whatever, gold master beta, whatever that's called, the last beta before
Gold
it actually
build,
goes
probably.
public.
Yeah.
Yeah, they meant to do that, but accidentally put it out on the public, pulled it. People kind of clamored. The story got covered under the iPhone 12 release. And then, like I said, earlier this week, they finally announced iOS 14.1 to the public. I don't want to say, if you're watching this on Friday, then they did it earlier this week. But if you're watching live, I think they announced 14.1 yesterday.
Oh, okay. So in any event, it's out there.
Yep.
Go get it if you want it. All right. And I wonder what version is going to come on our new phones. Probably 14.0.
14.0.1 probably.
Interesting. All right. So let's go into the next thing. The last thing that we have to talk in the lowdown this week, it relates to Spotify. I think I've mentioned before that I am a premium Spotify user. I have all the devices, all the services, but Spotify is my go-to. But now Spotify has released its own iOS 14 widget. I think we've talked about it a few times, how you can customize your home screen and make it all neat and custom to whatever aesthetic that you prefer. And so now Spotify has released its own iOS widget that you can add to your home screen. I'm not sharing, but essentially it's a fairly easy install. All right, so you should be able to see it. So to add Spotify widget to your home screen, first make sure you have the latest version of Spotify. Then when you press and hold a widget or any empty space, you get kind of the wiggly apps that kind of shake. You press on the plus button, add button in the upper left corner. Select the Spotify widget in the list. Select the size of the widget because you can customize it into different square or rectangle shapes. Then tap add widget. Place the widget where you want it to go. Tap done to confirm. And that's it. You will have the Spotify widget on your home screen. So it's nifty little trick there. that you can get
Yeah,
Spotify on your home screen.
it's still limited to, what third parties have widgets. Spotify has one. I think the story mentions Dropbox has one. A
Mm-hmm.
couple other ones. I think Apple is still kind of holding on, the brake, they ain't pressed the gas fully on letting all the third party developers create widgets because, of course, they don't want to mess up the iOS experience. So I am waiting on things like Tidal, since we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about music streaming, waiting on Tidal to get a widget,
Mm-hmm.
waiting on a couple other ones to get a widget. I'm waiting patiently.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're going to come, but there are some third party widgets that I definitely will look forward to getting that aren't yet. So I guess this is a sign of things to come, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's really getting on board, and maybe folks are waiting. Maybe developers are waiting until the new versions are shipped to roll out their new versions. I'm assuming people will already be setting up their devices, so it's like, hey, that's just roll that into your setup and kind of do it once. So yeah, I think it's neat, and it's definitely, I think, a preview of what's to come, because I think more and more companies and more different apps will roll into that widget space, because no one wants to be left out, and they want to be able to say that you can put your their app in your widgets and make it a favorite on your home screen, so it can kind of feed into your whole home screen aesthetic. So that's that, and I believe that is it for the lowdown this week. Let's head on over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. One neat little thing that I saw this week that was posted. I know that we have a lot of gamers out there, a lot of folks who use PlayStation, and for PlayStation 4, Sony has released a new Black Lives Matter theme. I'm showing it on the screen for those who can see it. It's black and gold, got the Black Power fist up, and Black Lives Matter. So you can get the Black Lives Matter theme for your gaming device. So I think that's just neat, something that they're offering to their users to continue the conversation. And again, it shows that they are down for the cause, at least on the surface, of giving players the opportunity to allow
Show
their
support,
views and
right.
their support for Black Lives Matter. So
Right.
I thought that was something neat to share.
It's cute.
So yeah, I thought that was something neat to share. It's pretty much been all Apple this week, so it was a bit of a struggle to find some things this week that were non-Apple related. But one big thing that did come out recently is we've been talking about the antitrust suit that Congress has brought against Apple prior, and then last week, was it last week or the week before, where they were coming after, the DOJ was coming after, not the DOJ, the House committee was coming for all the tech companies. It was Amazon, it was Facebook, it was Apple, it was Google. So now the DOJ has argued that Google, they have an antitrust suit out against them, because essentially they're saying that Google is dominating the search game.
Which they are.
But my thing is, why, I guess, penalize someone for being good at what they do?
Well, so
I know it's probably deeper than that, but I'm just saying, on the surface, they've had all the other search engines. You got Yahoo, you got Bing, you got all these other ones. But Google is a part of the lexicon. Even if you're searching on Bing, you don't say, let me go Bing it. You just say, let me go Google it. You could be using Bing, but the nomenclature, the lexicon of our society now is, let me go Google it.
Right. So you could make a case against Google by saying that would make sense, everything you just said, if You entered a search result into Google. The problem that Google is running into is based on who you are, based on where you are, based on what your racial or cultural background is, or your ethnic background, political affiliation is, all these things that Google has collected over the years, search query and get a totally different search results. Now, add to the fact that advertisers, if I wanted to advertise snobOS, if I wanted to pay based on a search query, keyword search, they are showing you that they want you to see, not necessarily what I'm looking for. And since all of these devices, all of these services, all of these companies, all these advertisers, marketers, whomever, play into the Google algorithm, then they kind of control. You could make a case.
Let me stop you one quick second. Can you look at our YouTube? It looks like our eCam service is having some issues. Is it still running on your side?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, all right. I just got a pop-up window that was weird. Okay, all right.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I can see the live feed.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so if Google did not preference, for lack of a better term, how you view the web or curate how you view the web, it was just me putting in information and I getting results back based on that specific search result, and they're not, like I said, curating the web, then you could make a case that why are you penalizing Google for being good at what they've done? Because they've squashed the competition, right? Mm-hmm. They've squashed Bing, they've squashed, Jeeves, Ask Jeeves, they've squashed
oh, good old Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, right.
That's a throwback.
Right, they've killed all these, web platforms. Now there are some out there. DuckDuckGo is one that, again, they promise that they're not selling your information to advertisers. What the search queries that you put in is the search queries you get back. Your data's secure, your data's private, so on and so forth. But I mean, who's ever heard of DuckDuckGo? Right? So then you mentioned Bing. You've heard of Bing if you have a PC. But that's only by, even then, the EU sued Microsoft for forcing people to use Internet Explorer as their default browser. Mm-hmm. And they had to change all that up. Now, of course, now everybody's flocking to Google, right? So you cannot blame Google for being good at what they've done in the sense of squashing the competition. But if Google is curating how you view the web, then there's a case to be made of like, hey, bro, y'all need to slow down and y'all need to figure out.
Slow your roll.
Right, slow your roll a little bit. So again, Google's response to that is, what we do is no different than, I think I read it in the story, a grocery store, a cereal maker like Cheerios or Quaker Oats, rather, the parent company, paying a grocery store to put their cereal at the top shelf because that's eye level. So when I'm walking in a grocery store down the aisle, I see the Cheerios and the Frosted Flakes and whatever, the brand names that they've paid the grocery store chain and say, hey, put my stuff right here and forget about that other stuff. So Google's making a claim that they're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. If I, as an advertiser, pay Google to surface my information based on these particular keywords, based on this search query, if I want to do that, then what's Google to stop me? What is Google to say no, rather?
So does that kill the whole SEO type of, marketing? Because I know, just being on social media, that's pretty much what influencers drive. You got to make sure your SEO is optimized. Anytime you build a new website, they have built-in tools already to boost your SEO. So does that, infringe on any of that?
No, that actually bolsters that, right? Because as a influencer, as an advertiser, as a marketer, you figured out that, hey, a search result isn't just a search result. I can actually, bribe is not the right word, but I can play the game to where when somebody enters a search result and I want them to see my stuff, I can pay Google to have them surface my stuff a little bit better, right? But again, where do you draw the line between I want to go view this thing on the web, or I want to search for this thing on the web, and what I expect to see is what I ask for, versus, you know, I'm putting in something, and what I'm getting in return is what Google thinks I need to see, or what Google thinks my advertisers need to see, or their advertisers rather, what they need to see. So is that the true web as it is, or is that Google controlling the web? And if Google is controlling the entire web, which they are, that could
They
be a
are.
problem. you know.
Yeah. So it's an interesting case to be made. It will be interesting to see how Google fights this, because we know, of course, they will. So it will
Well,
be
they've got a couple different ways. They say, well, people can go on Twitter, and people can go on Facebook, and people can do all these things. Come on, man, stop playing. People are
everybody
going
knows.
to Google.
Everybody knows it's Google. Like I said
Right.
earlier, it's in the lexicon to go Google it. I mean, it's
Right.
just. I mean, it's
It is
just
what it
too
is.
big. It is too big, and it's no more putting that genie back in the bottle, because it's not going back. Sorry.
Now are we okay with that? That's the question. If we're okay with Google curating our internet based on my preferences, because there are some times that I would want to look up something based on who I am, where I live, whatever the case may be. Am I okay with that? If I'm not okay with that, then we may have a problem.
So looking at the article, there is a part of it that kind of lays out that Bing and Yahoo both pay Apple to be featured in Safari as a search engine. So is it truly a monopoly if these
It's
other
not,
companies can buy their way in?
because I can go into my Safari settings and select
What you
which
want your
browser.
preference.
Right, right. But again, that is, just one manufacturer. That's just one option. Again, even when I go and do that, then Bing does the same thing. You can pay for keywords and all that stuff on Bing. I guess the question is, once I didn't do that, what am I being presented? Am I being presented the web as it is, or am I being presented the web as
A
they
slimmed
want?
down version of what they
Right.
want you to see.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's probably the biggest issue. Right now, it doesn't seem that big of a deal, because you're still getting, what you want. But what are the broader implications if you have this huge magnet of a company who can curate what you see? Is a slippery
And has
slope.
bias.
Right.
And they have bias.
And it's a slippery slope to some of the, say, communist countries that curate what comes into the web and what goes out of the web. So I get it. It is definitely a slippery slope. And, I don't know if the DOJ thinks that, what they're putting in place will actually, change something, or if it's one of those things where, let me kind of, fire a warning shot for you to say, hey, we are on you, we see what you're doing. And that in turn forces Google to say, okay, fine, let's take a look, let's try and change something so that it doesn't, appear as bad. But when you put it in those terms, I see where there could be a problem when you think in broader terms and not just so granular at
It's working. Right.
It's giving me the results that I want. I don't know any better, but now that you know that your view is being curated, how comfortable are you with that? At this point, and do you care? A lot of people honestly probably won't care, which is the unfortunate thing. But then, say 20 years from now, it becomes like a police state or something, crazy. I mean, not so crazy, because look at where we are now. But what I'm saying is, it gets to the point where 20 years from now, it's like, how did we even get here? And it's like, it started back in, the late
2020.
the late 20 teens, when they were slowly and steadily chipping at little bits and pieces, until now you get to the point where it's just beyond. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, because you've allowed these small little increments to change. And when you do things small and in little increments, it doesn't seem as bad until you get to the end of the line and you see the huge overall, outcome of, oh crap, we are
And
screwed.
it might not even be that serious. Think of it in these terms, right? So you looked up You were able to find this story about this lawsuit against Google and the DOJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Imagine something as simple as somebody putting in a Google, say, what's going on with Google and the Department of Justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they want to kind of change the appearance of this
They
thing,
could
they
bury
could
it.
very well give you search results that give a different swing or a spin on the
It
story
could
that
give
leads
their
you to
positive
believe.
spin or articles that
Exactly.
they've sanctioned. That can go at the
Exactly.
top, and at the bottom, the truth could be buried 15 pages down
And who's
on
going
the
to
search.
15 pages, right?
Nobody.
So
Nobody barely
someone,
goes past the first page.
and why wouldn't they? It's a capitalistic society. They have control of the internet. Why not do that?
That's
I
in
would
their
do it
best interest, right?
if I ran Google. I'd be like, hey, here's what we're gonna do. It was somebody search in Google DOJ, show this article about how technology, is good for everybody, and Department of Justice, they just some busters, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
I would do
Exactly.
that. So
Yeah.
I know somebody at Google's doing it.
I mean, it's $1 billion company, so it's all about these coins, and they have to make sure that they protect it above everything. All right. So that is it for second string. Do you have anything else for second string you wanted to bring up or talk about?
Nope.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's head on over to For the Culture. All right. So this week for the Culture, we have a few different things to talk about, but they're all kind of related. So I'm calling it The Rap Men Are Not All Right.
We're here in Luca's The Problem with Men corner here. Let's go ahead and hear it.
We are in some of your brethren are the weakest link. Okay, so let's start off with Ice Cube. He's been in the news for the last few weeks with his CWBA contract with Black America plan. 3 months ago, I think, he wanted to get involved in politics, and he came up with this plan for Black America on what needs to be done as it relates to the political process, and how Black people are treated in the different political parties, and essentially what needs to be done, for the improvement process. Yeah, what we need to be asking for from before just giving, in his words, giving away our vote, blindly to either one of these party affiliations. Now, while I don't have a problem with the contract in theory, what I do have a problem with is twofold. One, you wait a couple of months before the election to come up with this. And two, who are these people that you got this expert advice from, and who made Ice Cube the spokesman for all Black people? So what it really boils down to is he came up with this plan. He said he wanted to present it to both parties, parties being the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. He reached out to both, and according to him, the only people that responded were the Trump administration, and they made adjustments to their plan based on his input. So the good brother Roland Martin had him on his show, and was like, hey, so we heard you had a conversation with Trump. You showed him your contract with Black America. Trump had a platinum plan for Black people. And so apparently there was supposed to be some roll in of items from Ice Cube's contract with Black America with Trump platinum plan. But the issue that came from that is it doesn't seem as if Ice Cube was fully aware of what the Trump plan was. He said that there were items from his plan that were included into Trump's plan, but when asked about it, it was kind of crickets.
Yeah, so I'm reading the script. Roland, of course. I don't understand why Ice Cube even agreed to go on this show in the first place, because Roland Martin
Because
will
he thinks
break it
he's smart.
down.
He thinks he's smarter than everybody else. That's why. It's ego.
Well,
It's
um,
ego.
possibly yes. Of course, like I said, because I'm looking at the script according to this story, and Roland Martin was like, "Yo, have you looked at their plan? Have you looked to see where there's overlap? Can you point to me where they have taken any of your suggestions or input or your contract in, uh, uh, implementing it into their quote unquote platinum plan?" And Cube looked at it and fumbled around with some things, I guess, and looked
Yeah.
at some computer screen off camera and said, "Whoa, $40 billion venture capital money to black investment up to $40 billion." And then, the story goes on to mention that there is a line that references a $40 billion investment that claims to stimulate black owned businesses, but it doesn't explain how those funds be directed, a whole lot of things. And then, like you said, 10 seconds of silence, you know, Roland Martin kind of saves him a little bit to
He
say,
was trying to
you
help him
see,
out. Really, he was
right,
trying to
right, you
help the
see,
brother. He was trying
right.
so hard.
And he said, Roland Martin, and I quote, says, "You see, a lot of people have been talking about this $500 billion. That's not going to black people. In fact, that's just actually the infrastructure funding program. That's not actually $500 billion even going to black people. How many billions is the other one giving black people?" Cube interrupted. And Roland said, "No, no, no. What I'm saying is that's not even. They just list this thing under Black economic empowerment and access to capital. It says seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual 500 billion federal contracting opportunity. That's a line right there. It's not for black people." So basically, Roland is kind of not necessarily saying that the Democrats are doing anything better. Roland Martin's just saying, "Hey, you said, Ice Cube, that Trump responded and Trump listened, and he even implemented some of your things into their contract, when in fact
That's not
you
true.
got played."
And
You
now you
got
have
played.
you got played. Now you have Trump surrogates saying you're a great American. They're photoshopping Trump hats on you, and honestly, he got played. And I don't see how at this point in the game, black people don't realize you're going to get played. They don't even want to give folks who were unemployed, who were working, who paid into unemployment, they don't even want to give them an extra $600 a month. They don't want to give you another stimulus of $1,200 that lasts 32 weeks. So
Right.
what makes you think that they are going to just give $500 billion to black people?
Specifically.
Does that even
So
sound right?
right. So here's my thing with Ice Cube and Trump and this whole contract of Black America, right? I agree. It is a great idea. I also will take it a step farther and say I am proud of Ice Cube, quote unquote, putting his career online or on hold to take up this cause.
Is
Whether or
he
not we
really?
elected him, whether or not we nominated him, whether or not we pushed him to the forefront, whether we recognized his innate ability to work with politics or whatever the case may be, I'm proud of him even actually trying to take up this mantle. The problem I have with it is a couple fold, right? And it's different from the reasons you mentioned, right? Number one, he mentioned that he took it to the Republican and the Democratic Party. A contract of Black America should be with any party. There is a Green Party. There is a Libertarian Party. There's all these other parties that seem to be missing off of Cube's list of people that he ran this contract with Black America by, right? Anybody, if the Libertarians, if the Green Party, if the whatever other parties out there say, you know what, we with you, we down with you, that's what we need. Then we need to take all of our energy away from the Democrats, away from the Republicans, and put it into these parties, and then that's how we work. They didn't mention that. And the reason why they didn't mention that is because now my conspiracy theory hat is about
Put
to
it
pop in.
on.
I would say 2 years ago, Ice Cube started the Big Three basketball
Lee, yep.
league. Yeah. and he's got a co-founder who, they started this Big Three tournament with. It's super popular.
And his Cube Vision
Whatever.
production companies with the same guy.
Right. So this same guy, this co-partner, co-founder, whatever, they've started Cube Vision and this Big Three. It's super popular. They started to get investors. They got in bed with the wrong investors. They had to bring a lawsuit to these investors. This is 2 years ago, like I'm going to say 2018. Had to bring a lawsuit. This lawsuit is ongoing. They haven't made any traction. Ice Cube says, or this co-founder who
His
has some
besties.
ties,
He's besties with Steve Bannon.
right, who has some ties with Steve Bannon and the Trump party, enlisted the help of Trump to help him bring some light to this lawsuit. So that's back in 2018, right? Fast forward to now, Ice Cube has surprisingly worked with Donald Trump in order to implement some of his contract with Black America into this platinum plan that now all of a sudden we're giving this $500 billion to Black people, which Roland Martin just said that ain't nothing but infrastructure, right? So to put, again, going back to my conspiracy theory, capitalism, Ice Cube ain't hard up for no, help from either Republicans or the Democrats. He is at a socioeconomic financial level to where the way he moves is different than how we move.
Right.
And this is a clear example of Cube saying, and his buddy saying, hey, we've got this issue. How do we resolve this financial issue? All right, so who's in power? Donald Trump and the Trump administration is in power. All right, so let us do something to make him look good, i.e. this contract with Black America. We work with you to do this platinum plan. You're helping Black people, all this money, yada, yada, yada. And then in turn, now I need you to help me with this lawsuit. So I need you to, while you're still in power, whether it be, between now and November 3rd or November 3rd to Inauguration Day, I need you to do a favor for me. So don't be surprised if between now and January, we read a story about Trump stepping in to help Ice Cube resolve this issue with his Big Three in this lawsuit. Again, that's just me putting on my conspiracy.
And honestly, I don't think it's really even conspiracy. It's called quid pro quo. And my two big issues that I have with this is apparently Donald Trump has a meeting with Qatari Airways or the Qatari government who this lawsuit is with, or it's some sort of connection. So I think based on some things that I've been reading, I mean, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But what I've been reading is that he's jumped on this Trump train so that when he meets with the Qatari folks, he can kind of like slide in, some of this stuff as well. So it's kind of like twofold. So he's trying to wrap it up in Black empowerment. But at the end of the day, it's about making sure that his money is right. Because let's be clear, Ice Cube is a very wealthy man. Very wealthy man. Regardless of Biden or Trump being in office, he's going to be okay. His kids are going to be okay. His kids are going to be okay. They're going to be fine financially. And anything that they may possibly get into, he'll be able to get them out because of his notoriety, his celebrity, his influence, and his money. So that's one thing. Two, I find it very interesting that he has excluded Black women from this conversation when we know that Black women are the biggest voting bloc of the Democratic Party. All of his messaging, from what I've seen, is geared towards the Black man. So we have in this situation, it's already hard enough for Black folks. Period. But then when you add in the gender aspect of it, that's another issue. And let's not forget that Donald Trump was, back in the day, he was the rappers' go-to person in all their lyrics, cameos and videos, because he was a cool, white billionaire who was down, with the whatever. But now that his true colors have shown, they're trying, some people are leaning all the way into it and some people are trying to dial it back. But let's not get it twisted that Donald Trump is a misogynist, and a lot of rap is rooted in misogyny towards women, particularly black women. So it follows along with their ethos. And let's be clear. There are a lot of black men, I'm not going to say all of them. If it doesn't apply to you, then you don't have to worry about the statement. That if they could get the privilege of white men, they will leave black women behind like nobody's business. They would. And I mean, it's already, been shown, throughout, different instances where at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about black power and black rights for all of black people. A lot of times, because of patriarchy, it's about black power for men to have the same footing as white men. The same with white feminist women. Everybody talks about Susan B. Anthony, how she was great, She didn't want black women to have the same access to vote as she did. She fought specifically against, black women having the right to vote. So at the end of the day, white women, black men, they all want white patriarchy. If they can have the experience of white men, they are more than happy to leave the rest of us behind. And that's really, to me, what it boils down to, and why I fiercely speak out about it, because I am a black woman. I see how hard we have to work to be even noticed in certain circumstances. We have to be twice, 3 times, sometimes 4 times as good as our white counterparts who are women, and as our counterparts as men. So it's one of those things where I live it every day. I mean, this week, that's why, you keep seeing me sipping on this, copper mug, because there's a little something in there, because this week has been filled with me, leading a project and leading an initiative and having people
to repeatedly, constantly
stand my ground and constantly tell people, I am the lead for this. You need to run these things through me. And people thinking they can easily just circumvent me, leave me out of calls, leave me out of meetings, leave me off email, all these types of things. I live this every day, and I work in the tech industry. So it's even worse being in the tech industry. So, and I look a lot younger than I am. There are presumptions about my age. Well, should she really be leading this because you're so young? And, it's all shrouded in, fun and games. Ha ha ha. We were talking about somebody going golfing with one of our former coworkers who is who is retired. And it's one of those things where, you're too. And I was like, I've been trying to retire for years, since I graduated from college. And, people are like, you're too young to retire. You're way too young, those kind of things. And people make assumptions based on what they see. And that's my everyday life. That's the life of friends. That's the life of coworkers. That's the life of women I don't even know. It's every single day you're fighting battles on multiple fronts just to continue to keep your head above water when and it's proven many times that you are far better equipped and prepared than other folks who get the benefit of not even having to do as much work. So that's why I go so hard for it.
Right. So it sounds like you set it up for the next story that you wanted to talk about here as it relates to black women being overshadowed. So go ahead and perfect segue to lead into your next story you got going here.
Next story of the rap men are not all right. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, all the names. So he announced this week that he is starting a new black political party. Okay. Sure. Great. 2 weeks before the election, friend. When you had the massive voter die movement when President Obama was being elected the first time. Could you not have built on that? And, in the almost 20 years since then? Could you have done something with that? So essentially he says that he's launching this political party. I think it's called Our
Black Party.
Our Black Party.
Yeah, he's got a quote in here. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. The mission is to create a platform to help advance a political agenda that addresses the needs of black people. So going forward, we aren't in the same position as we are in today. So those are his just basically Diddy's quotes as to what the purpose of this Our Black Party is.
Right. So what I wasn't aware, because I let the jokes fly, because again, like Ice Cube, they were roasting Diddy on Twitter like nobody's business, because it's like, dude, bro, what are you talking about? What's going on? All to find out via, I think we both follow Livia J on Facebook. I actually saw this on her Facebook feed, that this political party is actually something that was already created by a mayor of Hyattsville, out of Maryland, Candace Hollingsworth. So this was actually her thing, and she was she's to serve as co-chair along with Dr. Wes Bellamy, who is also a former vice mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia. So it just goes to show that, again, like I said earlier, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. These folks have already been doing this work, already have it in place, have been striving and driving for getting this done. And then here he comes in with his celebrity, with his vote or die movement, and completely hijacks this movement that was already in progress.
So do you, I guess my question to you is, do you think or feel it was intentional that Diddy overshadows the original creators of this movement? Or do you think that, like you mentioned previously about, how black men are, in such a hurry to acquire the same socioeconomic and financial level as a white man, to where they feel like, okay, well, the only way this is going to work is if I put my name on it? Or is it more of a, I want to do my job to help this movement, and since I'm Diddy, me putting my name on it, me putting my face on it is going to get even more traction to then have you all see, the fruits of your labor?
Honestly, I don't know, but what I find peculiar is you're using the exact same, at and same name. If you were trying to amplify something that was already existing, you would have done so. You wouldn't have, gone in as, this is mine. I'm starting this.
So did he, so it's kind of fuzzy here. Is he doing this in conjunction with them, or has he completely just started his own thing and they're not connected in any way?
Honestly, it's hard to tell. He just came up with this recently, and it's hard to tell. The information is kind of, honestly, you just don't know what to believe. But my thing is, if he's making these posts about this political party, you would think at some point he would tag the original creators of this, or say, I'm partnering with the leaders. I'm partnering with these two former mayors or current mayors to do this thing. And it seems like he's centering himself. Again, you have wealthy, famous, men who are used to being catered to, who are used to the spotlight and the celebrity. So it's one of those things, or is it ego? Where it's like, I can kind of hijack this, kind of like, the Me Too movement got hijacked, from a black woman who was already doing it. It became popular, or quote unquote mainstream, when someone more famous attached themselves to it. I think it would have probably gotten more, it wouldn't been so many jokes, because that's the thing at this point. It was a farce being made on social media, joking about, how are you just gonna come up with this for the election? Ha ha ha, he's doing this, he's doing that. When it's actually a solid position, it's a solid organization, and it's being reduced to jokes because the person who is now placing himself at the forefront doesn't have any background in this, doesn't have any history in this, and it really does both disservice. It does disservice to the originators, the founders of this party. And it honestly does a disservice to him because it's all about jokes. And honestly, we're 2 weeks out from the election, roughly. And this is serious stuff. It shouldn't be. Now, as Black people, we're going to get these jokes off because, that's how we cope. But at the same time, if we are trying to come together, quote, as a people,
organize,
pull together, this is not how you do it. And that's why I really believe that we can't really be successful because it's so many folks who want to be out front and leading and centering themselves instead of saying, you know what, let me put my ego to the side and do what's best for Black people. Because at the end of the day, Diddy's not going to be, negatively impacted based on who's in office. Ice Cube, we're talking about 50 Cent next. And even drilling down lower to that, people like us, even though it will affect us in some capacity, it's not going to impact us as much as it would, folks who don't have the privilege that we have, who don't have the access to what we have, who don't, work where we work, have the education that we have, those types of things. When you drill down to the lowest, I hate to say it, lowest common denominator, but when you drill down to folks who are poor, disenfranchised, don't have any other options, those are the folks who are the most affected by these decisions. So it's one of those things where you have to start to put your personal, I don't want to say put your personal ambitions aside or decenter yourself, but it comes a point when you have to realize it's not all about you. It's not all about you being glamorized. It's not all about you being, on CNN or ABC or having the president or the presidential candidate call you. Like, my thing is, who was Ice Cube to warrant or suggest that, Kamala Harris or Joe Biden must call him back when you just got involved in this 3 months ago? So,
and to piggyback on what you're saying, I can see them wanting to use their influence to make change. Because I think at the bottom, whatever their ulterior motives are, I think at the heart of it is that's what they're trying to do. The issue is they're not going to be running the day-to-day. They're going to get pulled into different directions because they are these moguls, both of them, right? So, as a result, if you are the face of this company and you're not going to be doing the day-to-day, you're not politically educated on how this whole thing works, you're not going to, put your life on the line for this, then it's probably better that you, like you said, put your ambitions, put your, your quest for even more, influence, put that aside and actually work with people who have the experience, who have the drive, who have the ability to see this come to face, know that it's going to take way longer than a couple of weeks to actually do
months,
this. It's going to take.
This is for the long
years,
haul, if
not generations, for a Contract of Black America or Our Black Party to actually have the infrastructure in place to actually make change. That's going to take generations. And is Ice Cube or Diddy the person that's going to put all of their other aspirations, all of their other aims and goals aside to get really down deep in the trenches to actually do this? Or, like you mentioned, would it be better if they just say, look, I'm going to prop up these people who have this drive, who have this education, have this knowledge.
Give you some money.
Write the checks, and I'm going to support you any way I can. But this is your thing. I'm going to support it any way, shape, form possible. Then that even excuses them to then have these other interests, have these other goals, have these other things. But like you mentioned, the way they've presented it is, this is my thing. I'm going to carry the ball on this, when you're not, because the presentation is all wrong.
Yeah.
The initial launch is all wrong. So we already know this is a grab for influence, right? Which is not going to help us at all.
And it's the foundational knowledge of basics of how government even works that's being, missed. It's the thing where, once outside opens back up, when you can make movies again, when you can make videos again, when you can make music again, all of your other ventures, when you can open your stores again, when all these things open back up, when whoever gets elected is in office, are you going to drop this and be like, well, I got other things to do. I got businesses to run. I'm a businessman. I have to go and take care of this. Are you going to then drop it? Because right now we in the house, we can't do a whole lot. And so this is like at the forefront of everybody's mind and what's going on. And it's the hot topic. Are you going to be on the trending topic? And then when there's a new trending topic, are you going to leave this and go and do your other things when you leave millions of people who bought into what you've sold them?
Right.
Are you going to leave them high and dry?
Like we mentioned with this Roland Martin interview, clearly
he had no clue.
Was not prepared for this type of thought process, this line of questioning, so clearly, as congratulatory as I am of Ice Cube deciding, and according to what I've heard, according to what I've seen him actually say, this just didn't start 2 weeks ago. He had these thoughts as early as soon as the thing happened this summer with George Floyd is when he decided, enough's enough, this and that and the other. Let's go ahead and get this thing built, to where over the course of the summer, he's been building this contract with Black America. And now, again, 2 weeks late before the election, when we need to be focused on getting Trump out of office, whatever your political affiliations are, he's decided to kind of put this thing out here, right? So again, as congratulatory as I am, clearly he is out of his league. And that also, like I said, adds to the point to where you probably need to put this in somebody else's lap, specifically, Black women who have been holding up, the politics as it relates to African Americans. You need to, in Diddy's case, you need to let these ladies, or this group started with this lady, this Black party, let them run it, and you support them any way, shape, form, or possible. If you can do that, that goes back to the whole patriarchy thing. Can a Diddy support a sister?
But it's the co-founder's a man, so it's not even so fully, women only. It's he was a former vice mayor, I think it is, who is the other co-founder. So it's not just, I think a woman started it or founded it, but she's in partnership with other people because she recognizes, I'm assuming, that you can't go at systematic structures alone. You can't just be one person and do that. You need, other pieces to make this whole thing work. So
But, segueing on to the next story you have, with 50 Cent, at least he's honest. And at least you see exactly where he's coming from.
And nobody's surprised.
Right. And there's these shrouds of, conspiracy theories and what's he really doing it, or why now? Or, all these other things that we've discussed with Ice Cube and Diddy. 50 Cent is pretty transparent on why he believes what he believes as it relates to Donald Trump. So I'll let you go ahead and take it over there.
So I fully believe, as opposed with Ice Cube and with Diddy, there was some sort of thought process, although it may have been flawed. They put some thought into this, and they aren't typical trolls. 50 Cent a troll. I mean, he's all about, any publicity is good publicity. When he's being dragged through the mud, he'll tag his drinks or whatever he's shilling at the time. So earlier this week, there was a graphic that showed on CNBC, and 50 Cent tweets, "What the F, parentheses, vote for Trump, I'm out. F New York, the Knicks never win anyway." What does Knicks have to do with this? I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your effing mind? So what he's referencing is there was a graphic on CNBC that says the title is Top Tax Rates by State under Biden Tax Plan, and it lists out California, New Jersey, New York State and New York City. And it's these super high percentages of what the alleged tax rate will be.
Statutory tax rate.
Right. So what 50 doesn't quite understand, and what he bought into, is essentially, I'm trying to think of the word, is advertise. I don't want to say advertising, but stats that aren't in the proper perspective. They give you this graphic and you see tax rates under Biden, 62%, 60%, 50%. See, and it's all these high numbers like, whoa, they're going to overtax us. What they don't understand is under Biden's proposed plan, if you make over $400,000, you get taxed at a higher rate.
But that ain't even so.
But that's not even the thing, though.
Here's the thing with 50 Cent, right?
He's a troll.
He's similar to these people who hear that Joe Biden is going to raise taxes, right?
He's a person that reads the headline of the article, but not the article.
Right. He doesn't. People like 50 Cent don't hear that you have to make, number one, you have to make over $400,000 in order for your taxes to go up, right? 50 Cent is well above $400,000, right? So he qualifies technically as one of these people who will probably be penalized with higher tax rates under Biden, if Biden is elected president, right? But that's not even the subject of this article. The subject of this article is the image included figures from a tax foundation analysis of Biden's plan, finding that the top 1% of earners living in New York City could combine federal, state, and city taxes.
It's all the taxes. It's not just federal. Biden only has control over federal.
I guarantee you 50 Cent is not a top 1% earner living in New York City. You know how much money you have to make to be in the top 1% of earners in New York? I could see if he was in Indiana. I could see if he was in Wyoming or Colorado or someplace to where he's making this huge amount of money compared to the other residents. But bro,
they're not talking about you.
They're not talking about you. And the problem that a lot of people like him are seeing is Biden taxes going to go up. I ain't with it. But they're not doing the research. They're not doing their due diligence. They're not actually digging into what a lot of Americans do.
They read the headlines.
We see the debate bullet points, and we see the arguments on the nightly news, and we just assume that they're talking to us, which, again, like I said, I can see why 50 Cent says, oh, well, I'm voting for Trump. But bro, you won't nearly be as affected as you think you are, and you're just going off of raw emotion. And that makes you look like an idiot because you're going out here, like you said, trolling Biden, and you all the way wrong.
Completely wrong. Because let's just be clear. The group that I guess gave this graphic, they are not Democratic leaning. I'll put it that way. And so what the plan does, based on this article we're reading from Newsweek, and based on some of Biden's own surrogates and himself saying, for those earning more than $400,000, your tax rate will go up, but it will go up from, say, 37% to 39.6%. So you're talking about going up less than 2%.
Right. And then, so let me complete the story in this Newsweek article. However, top earners in New York City are unlikely to pay anywhere near 62% if they use an accountant or understand how file taxes themselves. Due to deductions and other means of lowering tax burden, the impact on Biden's plan to top earners also would depend on how much more of the $400,000 an individual makes since the raise, blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. So he won't even be affected with this thing that he claims he's going to be affected with if he's using an accountant.
Which most high earners are.
Which 50 Cent is, reason why he feels like he aligns with Trump is because 50 Cent has used the same tax strategies that Trump has used, declaring bankruptcy to get out of stuff. 50 Cent has
He's
did
done that
multiple times.
exactly.
Just like Trump has done that multiple times. So I can see how 50 Cent believes that Trump is his spirit animal and this is crazy in New York. So he ain't leaving New York.
He ain't going nowhere. He's not changing anything that he's doing.
Right,
His life
right.
isn't going to change one bit. And I don't think that 50 did this to have an October surprise to help Trump. 50 just being the troll that he is. Unlike,
Right,
I think and the thing is, it's unintended consequences, because now you have people that follow 50 Cent who take him as sacrilege. Whatever he says is gold. Oh, they trying to make us pay even more. No, I don't want to call you stupid, but no, bro, they are not even you are not even in this conversation.
You're not the attendant audience.
Somebody was saying somebody with making $35,000 a year is going on a rant about this. They are not talking to you
at all.
You are nowhere near the conversation of any of this. But I say all of this to say, what we're experiencing right now is significant. And what we have going on, it's going to affect millions and millions of people who don't have 0.5% of the wealth, the access, and the privilege that these three men that we have talked about in this episode. I don't hate men. I don't hate black men. I hate stupidity.
Right.
And you have all of the access. You can hire someone to educate you on this, but you're so ego driven that you think you know everything, that you're not even willing to take advice from anybody. And that's
the same goes with Snoop Dogg, and the same goes with Shaquille O'Neal. Both of those dudes,
first time voting
for the first time, and it's like, why is
they're
it
almost
that
50.
Right. Why did it take so long? And two, why did you not know that in Shaq's case, why have you not voted?
And Shaq's educated. His family's educated. It's not like he has no idea what's going on.
And for Snoop, why didn't you do the research to find out that you could actually vote? Because his thing was, well, I just assumed I couldn't because I got felony cases. I'm like, but you still do if it's that important to you, you should do the research. Other things are important to you.
And like, you do the research.
Right. And you'll do your research to figure those things out.
Exactly.
So it just goes to, like you were saying, Ice Cube, 50 Cent, Diddy, Shaq, Snoop, and people like him who are prominent figures in our culture. They have a say, they have an impact, they have an influence on our culture. And it's just kind of disappointing, to say the least, that all of that influence, they're seemingly not able to put it in the right place that could affect us as a whole. The things that they say, people are going to follow those things. Like you said, they're going to treat it as gospel, and they're going to feed into those things to where otherwise, if you did the education, did the research, showed people what they need to be doing, showed them the right way, showed them the responsible way to do things like these initiatives like Diddy and Cube, are trying to put forefront, that would do a whole lot much better for the community as a whole versus coming out guns blazing and then get schooled and like, oh, my bad. But
by that point, it's already done.
You can go off and say, all right, my bad. Let me go off to making these movies. Let me go off to running these companies. But these people who are following after you are saying, you know what? Democrats didn't meet with Ice Cube to see his contract with Black America. Maybe I shouldn't vote either, because both of their parties are, and so on and so on and so forth. And you can see how the damage could easily be done when they can just say, oh, my bad. I didn't do that research like that. Let me go do some research.
Right. My heart breaks for our people, because we will have a lot of people, based on the information provided by the people we've talked about, they're going to be voting against their own best interest. And my heart just breaks for them.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So let's go into the hookup for this week. So this week's hookup is a little bit different. It's not tech related. It's not going to help you fix or improve your tech life, but what it is going to do is to help you raise awareness and help in a movement that is in dire need of attention from Americans, because we all know when Americans get involved and when we get Twitter going, it seems to, up the ante and get the visuals of the world. So this week, the how-to is, how can you help contribute and spread the word about ending SARS? So I'm sure a lot of you have been on social media, watched the news, and you may not be quite aware of what's going on with the hashtag EndSARS that's going on. I myself wasn't too familiar. I'd seen things on social media about it, but I wasn't 100% sure what it's about. So just a little background. What is SARS? SARS is Special Anti-Robbery Squad. It's a special unit within the Nigerian police force. Mm-hmm. What's the problem? This unit has been using violence, torture, and extortion against the civilians it is meant to protect. It has become a threat to the livelihood of all Nigerian citizens, especially youth and women. So essentially, and I'm reading this from someone's Ashley Blaine, who I follow on Instagram. This screenshot has been floating around. I'm not sure who the originator is. I apologize for that in advance. But essentially, there's this arm of the police force in Nigeria that are targeting young people based on whether they have like a cell phone or whether they have disposable income. They are targeting these folks, these mostly youth and women. They are targeting them, extorting them, and causing bodily harm to them if they don't hand over their devices, their clothes, their money. Right. If they don't unlock their phones,
which is so ironic, because the SARS branch of the police force was created in 1992 to deal
with this exact issue
associated with robbery and firearms. And then, of course, fast forward to now, which these issues are going on right now, to where they are turned into pretty much shakedown artists for the government and for themselves.
And the government is allowing them to continue in this manner. And I think the protest started October 8th, and they have been consistently peacefully going on up through, I think yesterday is when it really turned violent. These are peaceful protesters, and the police started shooting at them, murdered innocent civilians because they were protesting. They started enforcing curfews. And this is on top of the already sanctioned violence that they are perpetrating against the citizens of this country. So it's a huge movement regarding the injustice that is being faced, that the Nigerian citizens are being faced with. So how can you help? You can retweet and use the hashtag EndSARS, that's SARS. That helps amplify the message. Of course, I'm American. I don't know all of the particulars of what's going on, but there are people that I trust on social media, and I amplify their message. I retweet it. I like it. I post it so it shows up in my feed, because we all know when a hashtag starts trending, it starts getting the attention. Also, there are ways that you can help financially. We'll include the links in the show notes, but feministcoalition2020.com is one website, and also another website is connecteddevelopment.org. I did my research to make sure that I found websites that were valid, reputable. These two websites and these two organizations were overwhelmingly being shared by folks who are Nigerians, Nigerian Americans, and allies. So I feel fairly confident in posting these links for you to help, whether it's financially, whether it's through supplies, because I think the death toll was up to over 70. I think yesterday of
Right.
folks being murdered, and again they're
Right.
protesting. So they're out in the street. They need food. They need clothes. They need protection.
And according to the story that I've read about it, because I did do my research as well, the government, finally agreed that they would ban this SARS group on the 11th of October. But of course, that didn't happen because why, when it's in their best benefit that they would actually stop this group? And as a result, the people wasn't happy with their ban of this group, protested some more. And then, like Nika said, fast forward to yesterday, this group finally started opening fire on the protesters, the peaceful protesters. And as you see, the murder toll is starting to rise. Like Nika said, about right as of right now, up to 70 people. So it's helpful for Americans to know more about what's going on in the world. In the midst of all the things that's happening to us as it relates to COVID. Some of these other countries have been showing their support for America. And in some of these other countries, like in Europe, when they have their issues. Americans have always been able to show their support, change their Twitter and Facebook and social media handles to show solidarity for all the stuff that's going on in Europe. So we would hope and we would like to think that Americans would do the same for some of these additional countries, additional continents, like countries like Nigeria, and other continents like Africa, because it seems like, and maybe it's just me, but when things are going on in some of these other countries, like Nigeria and some of these other continents like Africa, some of their stories and some of their struggles, teams don't get the same amplification as when some sort of tragedy happens in some of these other European countries. So that's just me.
Yeah.
So with this platform, this is some of the things that we will be putting to the forefront.
Right, because Black Lives Matter everywhere.
Right.
Not just in America. There are Black lives literally on every continent in this world, and they matter regardless of what country you're in. So definitely take a look at the links. Definitely engage. It costs you nothing to retweet or like a post that will possibly help save lives.
Yep.
All right. And on that note, we will end the show. Definitely download, rate, and review us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can engage with us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're at snobOS Cast everywhere. Also, be sure to watch us on YouTube and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, you can feel free to leave any comments or suggestions on our website, which is snobOScast.com. You can also send us over an email at snobOScast@gmail.com. And again, please consider becoming a Patreon. We are at patreon.com/snobOScast. And with your support of $5 per month, you will get access to the pre-show content, access to our live show taping, and also access to our Discord live chat. And based on input we get from our current patrons, possibly a Facebook group. So keep your ears to the ground for that information as well. And with that, we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Peace.